1, 2, testing 1, 2. We are live now from my studio to the world. This is the Sabian Education Network, and I have so much fun in doing these different interviews because every interview is a different idea and a different part of the world that we bring together. And today, I have got two fantastic people with me. At first, I want to introduce Charu Hariharan, who is currently in India right now. Charu, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Dom.
And you are right now in a hotel in Hyderabad. Is that how we say it?
Yeah.
And you are there.
Exactly.
This is incredible to have this kind of connection. This is the power of the internet for sure. And also joining us here is Panus Vasilopoulos, who is a very, very dear friend and a fantastic drummer in Athens, Greece. Panos, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me, Dom. It's wonderful to see you.
This is so great. Now, I have been to Athens many times, and I've heard Panos perform many, many times. And each time he plays on drum set, he opens my mind with all the different rhythms and odd time signatures and just the incredible skill that he has on the drum set. And I must say, Charu, I have listened to some videos of you performing individually and with Panos, and I am blown away by your skill and your percussion. Just the passion that you play with is so deep. So I want everyone, as they join us here, to kind of understand both of you. So I want to start with Charu. Tell me about the beginning of music entering your life and how you started getting involved in percussion.
Well, my mom is a singer, and she's been a Carnatic singer for the longest time. My grandfather was a singer as well. So I grew up listening to music in my childhood from my family, and I started singing initially. But even when I started singing, I think by the age of 2 or 3, I would tap anything around me. I would play on the cushions, on boxes, on tables. So it was my father who discovered my passion for rhythm initially, and he asked me to reciprocate grooves and rhythms from songs of film music from India, which is very popular even now. And the more I reciprocate, he understood that I have a innate passion for rhythm. And when I was around 9 years old, or even before that, he used to tie to dustbins or waste baskets, wicker baskets together for me to simulate mridangam and play around and, just like a toy. And he discovered that I really was interested into percussion and I really wanted to study. And then we found my guru, Manarkoil Balaji sir, in Chennai. And since then, the journey with rhythm started off. And continues to be my biggest passion. As you said, I mean, I'm no expert, but I am very, very passionate about rhythm, and I always love to explore more.
Well, I like your humility because you really are a fantastic player. And I think as more of the world begins to hear you play, they're going to be impressed with your passion and your skill and just how you're sharing some great, great music with the world. This really is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much. That's very, very humbling to hear from you.
Now, when you were younger, you said your mom sang, so you were playing. So did you start taking lessons? Was there a school that you went to, or how did you start to learn?
I mean, here lessons are usually from a guru, like a master whom we visit personally and have lessons with. And I grow up with my master. It's not that I go for 1 hour and get lessons and come back. My master is like my father. He's like my father figure. I started learning from him since I was 10 years or 11 years old. So every little incident in my life, every little project that I do, he always gets to know. Every now and then keep sharing lessons. Just like you were speaking about having Skype classes, I learned only for 3 years under my master physically. And then I shifted my city from Chennai to Trivandrum. So he used to give me lessons over phone, over the Skype, when it was like connected for the telephone line modem sort of a thing. And he tried all the ways that he can to impart the knowledge and the training basically. And I'm so blessed that I have a master like him. he's the only master that I've studied from and continues to be my guru still. So I still learn from him. Even past yesterday or day before yesterday, he recorded some lessons on WhatsApp voice notes and sent me to work on them. So he's constantly like an eagle's eye, keeps watching me and keeps following my work.
So technology, is helping out tremendously by having the ability of being able to share this knowledge and this information. So again, technology, enhances our lives.
Absolutely, it does.
That is incredible.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, in this here, you're learning, you're doing it now. Did you start performing at an early age?
I gave my first performance, which was sort of informal performance, like when I was around 12, 13 years old. We have a very formal concert first stage in our tradition, which I did not, because my guru wasn't that keen about it. He was like, just start performing, grab every little opportunity that you get around and keep learning still. So I had my first performance when I was around 13 years old, 13, 14. And from then on, I started traveling, performing. And internationally, I think my first tour was when I was 17 years old, and continues to from then.
So you're 17 years old, you're starting to tour and travel. What was that like? What kind of experience was that? And where did you travel to?
My first travel was with my mother to Nigeria for a Carnatic concert. So it was my break from exams. I finished my 10th grade. So I think I was 15, I think. Yeah. So it was my break from the 10th grade. And she asked me to just accompany her like that. And I said, I will not come just like that. I want to play with you. And there is another artist for Mridangam, the main instrument that I play. And then I said, I can play on another small frame drum called Khanjira. And she said yes. And I worked around 1.5 months self-learning and just getting a few tips from another artist. And then I traveled with her to perform Khanjira along with her. So that was my first tour. And since then, with many different artists other than my mother, I went to La Réunion for the first time alone performing. And then it was with Pandit Debashish Bhattacharya, who is from Calcutta, a very, very eminent slide guitarist, and to UK, to Norway, and then I, traveled to Sweden and other places. So just kept growing from there.
So now the traveling has been a way of life. Now I know the pandemic has probably slowed that down a lot.
Yeah, it did. But I think it was what facilitated me and Panos meeting together and taking up this project. So I don't think I've been away from the world. I think I've been more into the world. How could I even imagine collaborating with him from another part of the world just through internet? Just as you said, the technology is adding a lot of value to our lives. And, me sitting in front of the laptop is almost like sitting in front of you and having this conversation. So I'm extremely grateful for the year that it has given time for many creative activities. And that's a luxury for people who travel. I'm sure you were speaking about that just before we entered into the conversation, right? It's a lot of luxury to be able to get back to your own home after work and have that comfort and still do all the work that you can. So I think I'm very blessed for that for this year.
Oh, good for you. Well, that is an extremely open-minded and positive way to look at this crazy pandemic. Yes, the pandemic has been extremely serious with people that have passed away, and that is absolutely a heart-wrenching difficulty, because I have lost people that I know due to the pandemic. But on the other side of the pandemic, it has given us a chance to reevaluate. It has given us time to put together our lives in a different fashion. As we said earlier before we started, I'm in my studio, and I live on the North Shore of Long Island, and I'm in a studio that I built 20 years ago that is a private soundproof cement room building that I've got my drums in here, and I'm reaching the world from my studio, and then I walk 50 feet into my house and I sleep in my own bed. That is absolutely amazing. Yeah. So there are some great, great advantages. Now, Panos, I love your playing, Panos. You have got a relaxed style that when you play, but you play, when I was in Greece just a few years ago, hearing you play, you were playing some tunes. These tunes were in all different odd times, and you were cutting through these odd times like a hot knife through warm butter. It was unbelievable how smooth it was. So, Panos, tell us your story about when you started playing drums and how you began with this crazy instrument.
Thank you, Tom. Well, I started rather late, I would say. I was about 14, 15, and I just my family was not musical at all. I would say I was a student of DCI videos. I don't know if you remember them, the videotapes DCI,
Absolutely.
Hudson, and maybe before Hudson, obviously. But to this day, I remember getting a Steve Gadd, videotape, and I could not believe that Steve was almost speaking to me, and I was able to stop, his explanations, and then hear again what he played, and it was mesmerizing. And I'm self-taught, completely self-taught. I'm never taking any lessons, which has some good parts and some bad parts. So I started by listening to rock music a lot. I was very much into Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin very much. And then, Ian Pace and John Bonham, they're absolutely incredible drummers. And at some point I heard Rush, and I saw Neil, behind this gigantic drum set. And I could not believe it. I couldn't collect my jaw from the floor. It was absolutely incredible. And just these little tomes, oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how long and how many years I spent trying to find these sounds on the drums. I still haven't, gone there, to be honest. I was listening to this kind of music, and then I heard Billy Cobham playing with Mahavishnu. And I really didn't know what was that thing. I was here and I couldn't understand anything. It was just scary, to be honest. It was a frightening experience. And then gradually I went into Joy Morello. I really love Joy Morello. Joy Morello, for me, he was the first guy that I heard playing an ostinato pattern. Over the, he does there are videos on YouTube with him playing take 5 and doing a very long solo and playing a 5 and then improvising on top. And I just could not believe that this is physically possible. I was just mesmerized by the dynamics he was doing, the touch on the instrument. It was incredible. And I went into jazz very much after that. So I started combining all these rock sounds, fusion and all these things. And nowadays, I do my own projects. They're focused on collaborations. I love collaborating with people because I think it's great to learn from people. That's you collaborate with someone and then you find out many things that you're unable to do, and you understand many things better. And also I love creating projects in the studio, because I feel that you have the time to, focus into the details. I love that. And as Charu was saying, if it wasn't for the pandemic, maybe we wouldn't be working, collaborating together. It was incredible because I saw Charu over the internet playing a beautiful solo on the instrument that she has with her called Mridangam. And I said, I'm going to email her because everybody's locked down. So what's the worst that can happen? She could probably say, go away, you crazy Greek person, So, we started speaking. And actually, it was a festival organized by a lovely lady called Sonia, who we spoke with her some time ago with Charu on an interview. And we actually released the song, the tune with her company. And we just started working together, and Charu is such a, accomplished percussionist, but also singer. And she has an amazing team of people, which we definitely have to mention, because in this tune, there's a band, to be honest. There's a band playing behind me and Charu. And there's Vagu who plays the bass. Charu, you have to say their last names because I'm not very good with that. And Julian playing the piano, incredible musician. And Al-Nishad doing the sound. Because you see, in order to get a project like that, you have to have a team of people working all together. And I was so happy to see Charu working with all these people and creating a virtual band and all of this coming together on this video creation, let's say. And we also, I would like to mention the fact that I'm sure you know that we will be releasing the stems, each individual component of the track, so that people can play on top of that and also learn the various parts. I'm sure you'll be mentioning it through the SEN network. So if it wasn't for the pandemic, maybe Charu would be too busy, and maybe I wouldn't have the time to do that. But we managed to do it, and I'm extremely, extremely happy to be able to collaborate with all these amazing musicians.
Well, this is so interesting, and a couple of things, Panos. First of all, you mentioned about DCI. DCI
Yes.
was Drummers Collective Incorporated, which was the Drummers Collective, which was a school in New York City that Rob Wallace and Paul Siegel had put together, the most famous school that was here in New York and in the world, probably, as far as specifically a drum school. And they put the school together, and then at some point they realized they had all of these top New York drummers coming in to teach. Let's videotape them. So they started this company, DCI, which was to videotape these artists. Now this is going back into the early 80s, if not even the late 70s. And what's amazing about it is that the videos that you're talking about, Panos, was really pre-internet. This is before the internet, and those videos became our YouTube.
Exactly. Yes.
Absolutely. Let me see what happened. I've just heard from Joe Bergamini. We can share the stems that he sent. We can inside the SEN site. So
Super.
Inside the SEN educational page, we'll be able to share all those stems.
Well, we thought that it would be wonderful to hear what other people can do with the stems. And also it's a great educational material because you can really dissect the piece of music. You can hear what Charu is doing. I mean, Charu recorded, I don't know how many layers of percussion, and it's just amazing to hear all these elements coming together, the piano separately, the bass separately. So you can do your own mix, and you can certainly understand this piece of music because it's a complicated piece of music. It's not, it's not easy. And it will be, I'm sure Charu, and she's obviously the composer of the song, and I would like to see people recording and doing their own performances on that. It would be wonderful, actually.
This will be great, Panos. And what we'll do is we'll organize that with Joe Bergamini, where we're going to ask people to record themselves and share these videos that we'll bring out and have people playing it also, so we can hear different interpretations of people playing to those stem files.
Absolutely.
This will be absolutely fantastic. You mentioned three names. You mentioned Neil Peart, you mentioned Billy Cobham, and Joe Morello. And these three drummers are, first of all, all of them played Sabian, so it's incredible. And Neil Peart's Sabian line Paragon is still an incredible sounding cymbal line that he puts together. And of course, Billy Cobham, I'm actually doing a series of masterclasses with Billy Cobham starting on April 11th. We're doing a 3-hour class. So Cobham is still actively active in performing and playing. So here he has, as he influenced you many, many years ago, he's still strong and going and influencing, and it's just it's inspiration at a high level. And Morello, who I happen to take lessons with for many, many years, boy, what you showed there, Panos, was a real open-mindedness to, someone like Cobham with Mahavishnu, which was, really kind of like jazz fusion.
Exactly, yeah.
Then you go to Neil Peart, which is kind of like a progressive type of music. And then you go to Morello, who was, quartet jazz.
Yeah.
So you were allowing influence in all different types of music. Charu, what were your influences when you were younger? Were you listening to all different types of music? What were you taking in at a young age?
I think my beginning was extremely Carnatic classical initially, from my mother, from my grandfather, and the artists that they introduced me with. And a lot of artists used to come home and play at home, or when my mom used to go for concerts. So I listened to a lot of mridangam as I grew up. So mridangam was extremely the first instrument that I was attracted to, and that's what I tended to learn later. But I've also been influenced by A.R. Rahman. He's a film music director from India, a Grammy Award winner and an Academy Award winner as well. He was extremely, he still composes, and he still is like the top composer here in terms of movies. But he does a lot of, he takes a lot of influence from world music, from, from Senegal, from West Africa, from jazz, from other influences. And it is really, really evident in his songs that he retains the identity, but mixes them together for the Indian tastes and for the music. So it's always fresh and it's always new. So I used to find who these artists are or where these sounds come from as I travel. And then I started discovering, okay, one section comes from the Sabar rhythms, or this is the instrument that he used, melodically as well as rhythmically. So that's exactly how I started knowing that these are the artists, these are the instruments that he's been using. And my first travel to La Reunion, and I got a lot of, because I was the youngest in the team, and I got a lot of love and affection from a lot of people around me who gifted me CDs of many, many artists. And that's how I started discovering Shakti. I started discovering El Subramaniam. I started discovering Mahavishnu Orchestra later. And a few of my friends speaking about Benny Greb, of course, Neil Peart, and many artists like that. And then little by little, I was introduced to world music, was more like Swedish or Scandic folk. Britain and jigs and things like that, polkas, Norwegian hurling, and all those folk and African, West African music initially, because that was what our band was doing. And then it slowly went into jazz and working with jazz artists from Spain. And so it started growing little by little on multiple levels. And Hindustani music, because I worked with Pandit Debashish Bhattacharya, who is from Calcutta, and he performs Hindustani music. So multiple influences from different places, and that's exactly what I want to do also, in the sense that I really do want to learn and know more about these branches and not just stick to playing mridangam in a traditional way. I really, really, absolutely love learning traditions from other parts of the world.
Well, this is so great. And what's amazing about it is the fact that the two of you connected and to put this together. Panos, how had you listened to Indian music before to have an idea of what was happening with all these different rhythms?
Well, I have to tell you, I cannot say the words Indian music or Indian rhythms without mentioning the name of Pete Lockett, because for me, Pete Lockett is, it was a moment in my life which I was shocked when I got his book, because he has an amazing book called Indian Rhythms for the Drum Set. And this book not only contains very structured information about a topic which is elusive, I would say, to most, Western drummers, but also it contains backing tracks, which for me, it was an extremely helpful tool, because I could see the music and I could hear what was happening, and then I was playing on top of it. And many years later, I had the chance to meet Pete Lockett, and record with him here in Athens. And it was just the fact that I find Indian music and the Indian rhythmic language fascinating, because my knowledge is very, very minimal, almost zero, I would say, when it comes to understanding how it works. But I just have a great fascination, and admiration for this whole rhythmical knowledge. It's quite incredible. And there's a question, really, that Western drummers have about Indian rhythms. It's why should I learn Indian rhythms? I mean, what's the point? I want to have lots of cymbals and I want to have 2 bass drums, and why on earth should I learn these little strange things? And if you get Pete Lockett's book, you understand that it's a rhythmical language. So you might like Indian music or you might not like Indian music, but the information is so rich and so complex at points that when you see the applications that it has on the drum set, it really blows your mind. And for me, the work that Pete Lockett has done is just mesmerizing, I would say, mesmerizing.
Boy, it's so great that you mentioned him. Pete is a dear friend and another phenomenal Sabian artist, and he really is just such a creative person at not only, performing, but his educational material. So I want people to go down there and research. And a lot of Pete Lockett's material is available on hudsonmusic.com, where it's a digital download, so you can get the books easily and learn this stuff, and it'll open up your mind. So you hear Charu playing on the internet. Is that how you first connected with her?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I go, obviously, we're currently in our 3rd lockdown in Athens here. So, I don't go out of my studio. I go in my house, in my studio, and that's it. So I'm on YouTube trying, all my life I was trying to whenever I saw something that I couldn't do and couldn't understand, I really focused into that. Like hearing Joy Morello playing an amazing drum solo. I couldn't understand it, but I want to learn more. So with Indian music, I don't understand exactly what's happening, but I like watching the videos. I'm fascinated with the sound of the instruments. I mean, the kind of textures that you can get out of a single instrument. There's an instrument called the kanjira. It's just a single drum, and I mean, the stuff that these people do, it's unbelievable. And I just find all these things fascinating. And I was watching, some videos, and I saw Charu playing an amazing Mirdagam solo. And I said, I'm going to email her, So yeah, that was it. And I mean, the sound, I saw the recordings that Charu was doing with, and I realized that there's a production team behind everything, obviously, because it's one thing being a single musician and another thing to produce beautifully recorded music. And if you see the productions that do in India, and I'm sure Charu will mention it, there's a beautiful studio that she uses. There are sound engineers like Al Nisad and all these people working together, and you can hear the clarity in the recordings and the production. And I was hooked, after that.
Well, that is fantastic. I think what's amazing about it is we have people that have signed on here from all around the world now. We've got people from the Ukraine, from Russia, from Brazil, all throughout Europe, all throughout the States. We've got people in Greece. We've got people from India signing on. So just the power of the internet right now, that people that are hearing our voice as we speak globally, this is how we're going to get the message of what the two of you are doing to the world. I think this is a fantastic opportunity here. So what I'd like to do is, if you would, Charu, I'd like you to show your instrument. Just talk about the instrument that you had just shown me before. And I want you to play a little for us. Just demonstrate the instrument and play something that you can feel can demonstrate a little bit of a taste of what you present.
Okay. Who should begin?
Yes, just show the instrument that you showed, if you would, first.
Yeah, sure.
And
so this is the mridangam.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Explain the instrument and just talk about it, if you would, please. Yes.
Yeah, sure. So this is the mridangam. It's usually just one piece of wood that's long, made from jackfruit tree. But this one is a special prototype made by my maker, who is no more, sadly, unfortunately. So this can be split into two pieces so that it can be traveled with. So I can just take one right head or two more and just use the base head as the same head, so it just helps me travel. And so the wood is jackfruit wood, and there are these are ropes currently, but traditionally they used to be buffalo skin ropes. Wow. Now they've replaced it with parachute ropes or nylon ropes, basically. And,
so is that wood? Is that a very hard wood or a soft wood? What kind of wood is that?
It's a hardwood, and they usually take wood that's old, around more than 15 to 20 years. The older the wood, the better. And the mridangam usually weighs, like a good mridangam, a heavy normal mridangam weighs around 11 to 12 kgs. This is a lighter one that helps me travel with. So this must be around 6 to 7 kgs. Not too weightless, I would say. There are weightless ones. There are fiber glass ones, which are even lesser in weight. But I prefer one that's a little heavier, at least, so that it doesn't move when I sit on the floor and try to play. Yeah. And feels like a mridangam on your body. When you place it and try to play it, it needs to feel heavy. And that makes a lot of difference to me, at least when I perform. And the right head is the higher head. I mean, because I'm right hand, or I could say this is the principal head, where all the finer techniques are used. There are around 7 strokes that we use with the right, with all the sort of variations, beginning with ti, ta, nam, and tam, and this is on the side, which is a more open sound, and a little inside, which is a little closed. And this is the left head, and one thick layer of skin which is pressed by 2 skins, and this is a goat skin, a little thicker goat skin. And the center is usually a paste of semolina, but currently I've used something called plastic ferment, which a lot of people use here, because semolina, once you make it a paste and put it, you have to just remove it immediately after concert. If you forget it, it's bad for the skin. So they are trying to find alternatives for the same, and a lot of people use plastic ferment. Usually we buy it from Germany, or someone goes to Germany, they buy 2 or 3 tins of plastic ferment and give it all around for free or for price. So tum, ta, and then a modulation called the Gumuki. These are the 3 strokes on the left. So Mridangam totally has 10 strokes.
In your left hand, you're playing from your fingers to your palm.
It's the finger.
Uh-huh.
So I play with the string finger and then modulate it by moving my edge of the hand, like this part. So it's. So you can bring all sorts of modulations on the left doing that. So that's the left and the right. And the skins that are usually used, the ropes used to be buffalo skin. The sides are also the same. There are 2 layers of cow skin here, and underneath is a goat skin over which the black patch is applied.
Interesting.
And this is a stone which is powdered, which is available in south of India. It's mixed with cooked rice and applied layers and layers and layers. So it's at least 20 to 30 layers applied over each other, polished by stone, applied, polished by stone. And that's how this is achieved.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Let's hear it. If you would play a little for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Man, this is such a whole nother skill level of what you're doing, and you look so relaxed and so natural with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Don.
Now, Panos, you're in your studio, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And you put together tons of videos that you have in your studio there. If you can you show us an overhead shot of your studio?
Absolutely. Here we go.
Oh, look at this. Hey guys, this is incredible. Now, Panos, I want you to play for me, but I've got a question here. I want to show this question here. This is from Marina, who lives in Cyprus. She's a phenomenal drummer herself, and she's in many of the lessons that I give on once a week. And she says, Panos, did you ever take inspiration from traditional Greek music?
Oh, I see. Well, look, well, you know, Greece is a melting pot of various cultures. We've got, the Balkans, we've got the Western, obvious influence, and the Greek music is extremely, extremely rich. And most of the rhythms of Greece, they're based on dances. People, they were not, if you go on a village outside of Athens, you can see people dancing to various odd rhythms, actually, strangely enough, like 9s and 7s and 13s and things like that. And I have heard a lot of Greek music, but I certainly am not, an expert on the subject, let's say. I was always focused on, fusion music, to be honest. But the Greek tradition, especially on the northern part of Greece, is mesmerizing, I would say, because we have the Balkan influence, and the rhythms are very, very interesting. And again, as I said, based mostly on various dances that people do. They just dance, and these rhythms are based on these compositions.
How fantastic! So
Yeah.
if you would, Panos, I want you to play for me, but I want you to first just describe your drum set and talk about the different setup that you have, and even the different symbols that you have in that overhead. Yeah, just
Absolutely, yeah. Well, look, basically it's a very small set. It's just this with an extra snare, just tom, floor tom and snare. And the cymbals just now, I have a mostly, this is a 16 ozone. I hope you can see it here. It's just a cross with an eight splash on top. And here with I've got an artisan ride cymbal, which I've added some rivets to it. Let's hear it a bit.
Yeah.
It's a very sweet sounding cymbal. I've got an 18 here. So, sorry.
Well, how big is that artisan? Is that a 20-inch?
That's a 20. Yeah, that's a 20. Absolutely. Yeah. And here I've got these extra hi-hats, which actually are, it's an instrument, I got these from eBay. They're called compression hats, and they're absolutely amazing. I mean, I couldn't find them anywhere, to be honest. And then someone had them on eBay, and I got them. And just, they sound incredible. Let me play a bit for you.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks.
It's a small kit, but I tend to change it a lot, to be honest.
and I mean, because I remember you had a completely different setup the last time I heard you in Greece that you had. How you play. So you adapt the setup for what you want, obviously, for what you're playing.
Well, I'm currently going through less is more, to be honest. So I removed everything. I mean, especially after seeing all these videos about, with people play kanjira or mirdangam, where they can do, astronomical things on just a single drum. I thought to myself, what are you trying to do here? Stop, putting more drums around you. But yes, I mean, I do change a lot. It's a small jazz kit basically, and I feel I can express myself very well on the instrument just with these three drums, So that's it.
It's amazing, and you've got a beautiful cymbal set up there too, which is so great, and having all your Sabians there, so that's just fantastic. Thanks.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the piece then that you guys got together and you started recording some stuff together and videoing some stuff. How'd that work out? Panos, you contact Charu, and Charu, when he contacted you, what was your first reaction?
Well, I wasn't surprised. Like, how did he even find me? Because I did not expect this. Someone texting so random and asking if we can do a jam. And I was like, oh, was he really serious? So I just went and checked his work out, and I was so blown away. And I felt it was a great responsibility to actually meet up with what he was doing already. And I was blown away by the body of work that he already has. And I took that as a great opportunity to make something that can actually fuse traditions, for me to actually learn a lot and have a reason to work. A lot of times I think that was what I was searching when I was in the lockdown, to actually find a reason to do something really different and creative. In fact, a few projects did come by, but this was like the cherry on the icing, and I felt like I have to give it all and see what I can do with what we have, because it was limited. In some ways, I was thinking of how is it going to go back and forth, but it just happened super smooth. I was very, very stoked by the process. Of course, it's creative and it takes time to reach the point that it did finally. But I was so happy and blessed that this happened this way.
So is it the music that you had put together? You wrote the music, right?
Yeah, I did. So initially we had a conversation, and when he actually approached, I think we spoke or we texted each other. I don't remember exactly what we did. I think we called each other, and and we discussed about what it could be, the time signature, and he just left it all to me. And he said, like, well, it's up on you. Just send me anything that you do, and I'll work on it. And then, I mean, I usually don't sing my pieces. I do compose and I let others sing. But this I felt like, okay, why should I not try singing? Because I used to sing, and when I switched to percussions after, like when I was around 20, 21, I felt like I'm feeling much better and at home when I play percussion. So I kept my singing a little away there. But then I think now is the time when I'm trying to integrate both, and I'm feeling comfortable doing both. Because I feel at home when I do percussion anyway. So what's wrong about singing again? So that's what I felt more. And when I had this, I had a rough melody line that came by, and I felt 9 was an interesting time signature to work with. So I remember having a call and just singing that tune once with Panos, and he said, like, okay, just go with it. Because a lot of collaborations, what happen is that it gets too technical when it's two percussionists or two drummers and a percussionist coming together. It's all about numbers, about meter. It is not about grooves, and it's not about understanding what can make the melody of rhythm, basically. So the line of melody was just to understand that, the grooving itself has a melody. So I think that's where it all started. And I asked him, I said, okay, if I have a melody line and then build a song along with it. And he was absolutely cool with me doing anything. Probably thanks for his trust, because he trusted me so much with that. And then it was both of us, a little programming and voice. That was what I felt. But as the piece grew little by little, I felt like I cannot do the piano when he was playing the solo, because I wanted it to be more like a jazz where, the piano is playing free and the jazz drummer is allowed to do what he can. And then Julian is my friend. I used to send all the updates of the piece to him just for a review. And then he was like, oh, no, this harmonies are sounding good already. And I said, well, but I don't know what to play for the piano solo. And then I asked him to work there. And when he gave it, it was astounding. And I told him to just do the entire thing again. So he made a few changes and worked the melody line. And then I found bass is missing. And then I contacted my friend and asked her if she could record. And when I recorded the percussion, it was like a whole day of recording. It started almost like around 5 or 6 in the evening. And we were in the studio until 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning and finished tracking the entire thing down. And Al-Nishad, I should say, was a wonderful, wonderful recording engineer, because he was so patient, just waiting for my work to just come on the space. And he was so good at capturing and not losing the moment. So I had great fun. I was absolutely in love with the entire process, actually.
So you recorded your part and you had this whole thing laid down, and then you sent the file to Panos. Panos, was it one song or were there many songs? How'd that work out?
No, it's one composition. It's written in 9/8, actually, in 9/4, let's say. And actually, when I received it, it was so perfectly done that I was terrified. I phoned Charu and I said, I can't play anything. That's it. It's fine. It's perfect. You don't need me. I'll go home and watch a video, And, I mean, when I got it, it's very easy for drums and percussionists not to mix together. Sometimes you get lots of flamming and it doesn't complement when you play a loud drum set, with these instruments that Charu was layering. So I started thinking textures, and if you notice in the video, you will see that I'm using different kind of sticks, different kind of mallets, just to get textures out of the drums, because it wasn't about showing off, crazy speed things or things like that, but I was focusing on the musicality, let's say, and how to complement the composition. I do have a small drum solo in the middle, which I went a bit wild there, but the whole thing was about complementing the music, because Charu is an amazing percussionist and an amazing composer at the same time. So the song was there, and my greatest, let's say, thought was how to complement this creation that she has made. And I added the drums, and then gradually Vagu played an amazing bass groove, and it was incredible. Actually, Vagu is the bass is incredible in this piece, and Julian complemented it very beautifully by playing amazing melodies. And also, if you notice during my drum solo, as Charu mentioned, he plays over it, so it's like a dialogue of drumming and piano, which is I loved it. I wish there was more of it.
Well, there's no doubt that you guys have got to do more of this here, so you can put together, what I'd love to hear is a full album of this here, because it was incredibly creative. So you hear this piece, and now was it charted out? Did you have to chart it out?
Not really. No, Charu sent me, the audio recording, and I just heard it 1,000 times, because I was saying to Charu there were some very interesting rhythmical parts in, and I said, okay, I'll phone you in 5 years' time when I learn it. after the pandemic, I'll be ready. But I wrote it down and sort of memorized it, and it was just hearing it basically.
So in charting this stuff out, Charu, when you write this stuff out, I know with the entire Indian language of music, this whole incredible, and I was first introduced to it in the early days by Ed Shaughnessy, who was a phenomenal big band drummer who got involved with Indian music, back in the 1960s. And he would apply that in his playing. It was he was a great jazz drummer that pulled a lot of that. So, the understanding and the sharing of that language, is that when you compose something, do you think of it, musically? Do you think of it in an Indian style of way? How do you even, compose this stuff?
I don't know exactly, because I'm introduced to other genres or sorts of playing, because I really, really love drums. And by the time I was taking this project up, I've been working with a lot of drummers outside who play jazz and stuff like that. So I don't know what went by. I felt like 9/8 is something that we don't use usually in Carnatic music a lot. Right. And I felt it will be really nice to try and do something which is a mix of traditions. So the syllables that I used in the melody is actually from Hindustani Tarana, Dheem Tare Tani and things like that. They do not mean anything. They are syllables that are used from the Konnakol part of, Konnakol is like the rhythm scale, as you know. It's a language of rhythm for us. So they are the bowls used in tabla or in the Hindustani music in singing. So I thought I'll take them and make a melody out of it and fit into a structure that would be nice to work on both. So 9/8 is very 9/4 basically. 9/4 is a little different for us also. So my idea was more groove, and the melody came in just like that at that point of time. I composed the melody. I was sitting and playing 9/4 in metronome, and I was like, okay, tum tum ta, tum tum ta, tum tum ta, ta ta ka tum tum ta, and I could imagine the sound of how the drums will be like when I did that. And then I just went on composing it with Konnakol and voice just like that on the mobile. And we don't write scores, because the scats or the Konnakol language itself is like a score, because it has all the information that you need for the percussion. Like if I say takadhinata, I know how to play, where is the accent, is it soft, is it hard, how much of a space, or we have all the information contained into that vocal language itself. So when I record something and when I send it out, I already have in my mind of what I need from the other person or what I would be asking for. But with Panos, I didn't even have to utter a word, because he did even like a 10 steps more than that, and he just gave it back to me. And I felt, how could I even accommodate that? And should I play more to complement? But I felt like no, because he's just shining out there like a star. And there are certain sections I cut off after he played and sent it back to me. I cut off a few loops of the Udu. I cut off a few loops from, the other instruments that I added to, because his picture was so perfect. And the recording of the drums, I should say, was like the cleanest that I've ever had. And a lot of people from here who saw the sessions were saying the same thing.
Well, that's so interesting. So, Panos, you heard this piece of music, and even though 9/8 or 9/4, you had to kind of find your own way of being able to take this in, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, again, as I said, I was trying to complement the music, so I could hear the singing that Charu did, and I have to tell you that if you notice the piece of music, it has many layers of percussion. So the shakers they're like at some point I was editing the video, and I couldn't believe how many shots of Charu were there, because there were all these layers of rhythm, I was just, oh my gosh, I was going like that. And I was just hearing that and trying to find certain grooves that would complement the music. And actually, I sent, 2 or 3 recordings, I remember, of the main groove, let's say. Yeah. And we just exchanged files, and that's how we worked with it.
Wait, so what would you recommend to somebody? So we're going to be able to share the stem files and have that happening. And where can they hear the song?
Well, the song is just now on Sabian, and it's also on Women of Rhythm. There are two parts on YouTube, both of them. You just Google Panos and Charu, I guess, and you will find it. But mainly on Sabian and on Women of Rhythm, their the YouTube channel.
And Women of Rhythm was started by who? Who started that YouTube channel?
It's Sonia, but I think Charu knows more about that.
Yeah, it's my friend called Sonia Acharya, and she started something to promote percussionists who are women and who want to enter into the field by giving them many stages of performance, public concerts, and things like that to promote percussion and rhythm among women. And she is a good friend, and I shared the project with her, and she said, "Well, I'll take this up and market it and put it out to people through Facebook and YouTube and all that." So she helped promote the material quite much in India. So
Women of Rhythm in YouTube.
Yeah.
And this is absolutely fantastic. Now, is there anything else that you're thinking about, some future stuff to collaborate some more in the future?
Oh, yes, I would love to. In fact, Panos had shared a couple of references which I haven't got to yet, but I'll listen to them and I'll see what we can do for the future. But I'm so stoked and happy if I could work more with you and with Panos and take this music forward.
Yeah, it will actually be wonderful after the pandemic, when travel starts again, to be able to have Charu over here in Athens, because here I'm working with the Yorgos Vakanas school, where Menios Pasialis, a great friend and absolutely amazing drummer, is heading the school, and also in Drama, which is a city north of Thessaloniki, with an amazing school of music called Modern Music Academy with Marcos Faitas, and we're organizing some drum camps there. And when these details come out after we're allowed to travel, obviously, then we'll have them released as well, so people can see about that, and also hopefully have Charu over here to Greece and do some seminars, maybe concerts, things like that.
Absolutely. So the drum camp that you're talking about is going to be in late August?
Yes, it's going to be we're planning it with Marcos just now, late August, and also here in Athens with Menios, we're organizing the Play Along Drum Festival, which is, I think, the 4th year that they're doing it for. Yeah. And but unfortunately, we're under lockdown just now. Yeah. So both me and Menios and Marcos from Drama will coordinate together to release some information about these upcoming events very soon.
Well, I have had the chance, the art music school, which is, I just want you if you would, Panos, talk about, Menios and Yorgos. These guys are phenomenal. Yorgos is an incredible bass player, and Menios is a phenomenal drummer and a phenomenal educator. And I had the chance when I go there, I just sit as a student and listen to them perform. And I remember one of the shows that we did, Panos, I was in the audience. You had performed, then Menios played with Yorgos in the band. The music was so incredible. So just talk about the art music school for a second, as far as what
Absolutely.
they're doing.
These guys, I think they have one of the best, venues in Europe, definitely at this point. Yeah. We've had everybody from Dave Weckl, Dennis Chambers, Alan Holdsworth, Virgil Donati, everybody plays and hopefully will play again there. Yeah. And it's a space which is full of energy. Menios heads the drum department there. He does an incredible job because he gathers talent from all around Greece, and young people, people who have been in the industry for ages, and we try to create through Yorgos, obviously, because Yorgos Vakanas is the owner and also the soul behind everything. Yeah. And obviously he heads the band as well, as you mentioned. And we're actually thinking about doing a competition, here in Athens, like undiscovered young drummer competition kind of thing, which is because we want to motivate people to be involved in the music industry. And, today with just maybe sharing a YouTube video of a young person who in the past wouldn't have the ability to show his talents. It's a great stuff. So the Play Along Festival, I'm sure, will happen this year with Yorgos and Menios here in Athens, and also the drum camp in Drama, which we're just now designing, and I'm sure it will come along as well. Yeah, Drama was the place where I was there with Pete Lockett a couple of years ago, and it was beautiful, and Pete enjoyed it as well. It was great for all these young people to hear, Indian rhythms and all the knowledge that Pete has. It was very nice.
I remember meeting up with Pete soon after that, and he had just the best time of being there to perform and be around all that young energy in learning about this here. Well, and Pete Lockett has an interview with Joe Bergamini on the Sabian Education Network. People can go back there and check out Pete Lockett's interview, and also check out all of Pete Lockett's books, which they can get on hudsonmusic.com. And I think what's great about this is the fact that you guys have presented some incredible music. What you're combining is the Greek influence, the Western influence, and the Indian influence in all of this here. This is exciting, this is refreshing, and this really is what I call 21st century music, where now the world is finally united musically as one.
Absolutely. I mean, we couldn't have done it without the use of technology. And, it's amazing to see, people who never met before just focusing on a project like that and creating, I think, beautiful music. So thank you very much, Charu, and thank you, Tom, for all the, amazing music.
Well, this is fantastic to have you both here. Charu, thank you so much. Panos, thank you so much. And you guys are on Facebook and Instagram under your names. Charu Hariharan is under your Facebook and your Instagram stuff. Panus Vasilopoulos is all there on his Facebook and his Instagram. The website also is panos/online.com, correct?
Yes, panos/online.com, yeah.
Okay, I want everyone to go there and check that out. All the information is there. You guys have been great. This has been fantastic and different in a wonderful way of being able to have Sabian giving us the opportunity to have this level of platform that we can share this information. Charu, you are absolutely wonderful. Panos, as always, my dear friend, it's great to see you always. To both of you, be safe, stay well, and I look forward at some point for all of us getting together and doing this all live in person.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. You have been fantastic. We've had countries from all around the world. We're here. Bring it on. Thank you so much to Sabian Education Network. Guys, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon, hopefully.
Super. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Stay well.
Bye-bye.